Okay, so for the people who are uninitiated, I recently hit Grandmaster with Lorena, as well as Slade, so we did it with both of them. We're currently pushing for Ethereum with Slade, but as one of the stretch goals, we talked about making a matchup chart for Lorena as well, who we had a pretty great deal of success with. This character feels quite good in the meta right now, and if you watch my last tier list, you would have seen reflected on there um, a pretty significant change in her tier placement. So there are a couple characters who she does very, very well against, and a couple characters where it can be a little tough. So, you know, there's definitely some give and take in there, but I'm going to try and rank them accordingly. Zetterburn is the first one I have in here that feels it's hard to rank Zetterburn because it either feels good or it feels even. I think your capacity for cheesing Zetterburn is like ridiculously high. It's so high. But then also Zetterburn's capacity for cheesing you is also ridiculously high. Like it might be one of the most feast or famine matchups in the entire game. Where if you hit Zetterburn, you are taking him for a ride, and if Zetterburn hits you, he is taking you for a ride. So I guess maybe that's just even. And it leads to games where like both players just get dominated, and it looks like the matchup is unwinnable on both sides, but they both do it to each other. So I might have him even there. I don't mind playing Zetterburn as Lorena too much. It's definitely not as annoying as it is as some other characters, but that is largely based on the fact that like you really can finesse him. One of the nice things as well is that chair just blocks chair blocks the fireball, so that could be a nice way to give yourself some space. Okay, Rano. This matchup's not very fun. Also, Smilebot, thank you very much. You feel better, reply guy arguing with me? That's crazy. Fair enough though. I respect it. I respect the reply guy. Thank you very much. And that means we did hit the $500 goal. That being said, Rano is a matchup that feels tough. I think Rano really fucks you off stage. He really fucks you when he hits you. It's easy for Rano to camp with needles because Rano's a floaty. He doesn't get hit with as much of the cheese. Rano's just like a tough character to navigate as Lorena. I think Rano does well against a lot of the newer characters. Rano does well against a lot of the newer characters just because their philosophy around recovery seems to have changed a little bit, where they're making them a touch more exploitable. Rano kind of feeds off of that. I think Rano plays a nice neutral against Lorena, so this is one of the matchups that just ends up feeling kind of hard. Albeit, like, it's all right. Raster is another one that ends up feeling pretty difficult. But like, is it that difficult? Not really. Okay, I'm gonna put it feels even. Raster fucks you off stage, like really hard. Down air just ruins you. If Raster gets you far enough off stage that you have to chair, or even side B and not immediately get to the wall, down air will just kill you. However, the caveat to that is Upstrong kills Raster at like 85%. And so there's some like back and forth there where if you are able to scrap with Raster successfully and kind of push your advantage state, and even if you get like a Nair and he DIs it wrong and you get an up B, dude, it can kill as early as like 75%. So even though it feels like you get bullied by this character a lot of the time, you kill him so early off of like one read that it oftentimes evens out, even if you've just been getting fucked for the last like minute. Yeah. And I think as well, like Raster has to be super careful about how he engages with you because any trade is just so bad for him. So I actually don't think it's that bad. You also floor hug the shit out of him, which really sucks if you have a lead at any point, because it's really hard for him to navigate. So I think this match ends up being okay. I would say it's teetering on feels bad. It's definitely feels a little more Raster favored, but you can make it happen. Crag is one I would have in feel. Oh, but the pillar off stage is a hard thing to deal with. It's not impossible, but it is hard. And the pillar means that Crag can more reliably get back from the stage, but also, like, I know the crazier Lorenas are just, like, dash attacking him on the fucking pillar as he's spawning it, and then that's, like, setting up weird offstage situations. I don't know how good that is. I feel like this is actually one where, for me, it's, like, down here, but for, like, someone like Corn Cycle or even Cheesy Potato who are, like, really familiar with the matchup, it might be up here. Yeah, I'm curious how the two of them feel about it. I would default to them on this one. I imagine they think it's pretty decent. Um, but I haven't actually played any top Crags in this matchup. I've only played kind of like some like Masters level Crags. I haven't played any Grandmaster Crags. Elkies is the best at cheesing you on the pillar. Smilebot, how do you feel about this matchup? When you have to play this matchup against Elkies, how do you feel? Do you feel like it's Lorena winning, or do you feel like it's even? Because I feel like it's probably even, but I'm not good at the like offstage shit. Specifically against Crag, and I feel like again, like Elky's Cheesy are going to be better than you. You feel like it's even? Okay, we'll keep it at even. That's my like inclination, but I feel like it is one that you could push up here. It's probably better than these two matchups. Fleet is another matchup. Dude, we are really starting with like her more difficult part of the matchup chart. Because I feel like she has a lot of matchups that she does quite well in. But we're not at them yet. I don't know. Maybe she doesn't do as well as I thought. I don't know though. Am I that upset if I run into a Crag? Not really. I'm just thinking now about the last one that I played. I think I might have Crag up here. I was just thinking about the last Crag I played. Feels like you spawn in with advantage until she starts hitting you. Yeah, like neutral's kind of tough, but then you also have like the chair, and if you're able to set up chair, you have like a pretty good basis for fighting Crag. I'm gonna put it in feels good. I think the chair is probably the difference maker in this, and how comfortable you are off stage. Fleet is one that ends up being like a little tricky. Just because Fleet does very good against you off stage. Fleet has strong options to deal with chair. Again, strong options to deal with you off stage. It's able to snipe you. The chair does block some of the arrows now, so that's like a boon. But this is another one that probably ends up being losing for Lorena. But you can dip off stage pretty deep against Fleet. I don't know. This is another tricky one because I'm never that mad to run into Fleet, but she also doesn't really get cheese, so you kind of have to play a little honest against Fleet, which can be a little bit harder than what she has to do against you. I think probably at like a high level, the Fleets are probably taking this more than they're not. Maple, I feel like we do good against. And again, this might be controversial. I think Maple does well against us off stage, but I think we do very well against Maple on stage. And we do well enough against Maple off stage that it ends up being quite hard. Maple has to like commit a good deal. Maple's a super fast faller, so Maple gets hit with dash attack off stage like at any time. She's just fucked. It's really easy to re-grab her with up air to go back to the ledge and get a neutral air. She's great weight for cheesing. Again, she doesn't have the most recovery stuff unless she gets to the wall, which means if you side B her off stage, it puts her in a really tough spot. She's like that really great like cheese percent and doesn't have the benefit of Crag of having the pillar to get his double jump back. Um, Again, obviously off stage can be hard. Um, but there's also mix-ups there. Like if you go for an early up B, you can grab the maple, and then it puts her in danger of like dying even. So I don't actually think this ends up being too like devastatingly bad. There's definitely some risk reward here, but that's kind of like the game plan with Lorena. And I think for some of these matchups, that ends up being like what you have to do. Um, I think Lorena does all. She's not bad into Claren by any means. I think Claren might actually be winning. She is very good at gimping Claren. She's very good at trading with Claren's up B. She's very good at holding the ledge against Claren because she has that invincible ledge refresh, which is really hard for Claren to deal with. Um, Neutral can be a little bit tricky just because of the range difference, but Lorena's pretty fast. And if you have the chair on stage, it just forces Claren to have to worry about it. She can't just throw out jabs for free and whiff because you can hit her with the chair. So I actually end up not minding this matchup too much. I think Lorena does pretty nice into this matchup. Claren is again like a pretty nice combo weight, which means if you get any of those things where you're just bullying her at the ledge, it converts into kills, which is super awesome. And I think you really can bully this character at the ledge. So I think it ends up feeling pretty good. She can obviously bully you back, and there's big combos that she can land, but it feels like what you're doing to her is pretty consistent and puts her in a lot of like very high risk situations where the Claren mains sometimes have to commit more than you do. Loxodon is an interesting one because I actually don't like this matchup very much. I don't like playing against Loxodon as Lorena. But it's also hard because there are some things about the matchup that are really good. Again, off stage in this matchup is super good for Lorena. The difficulty is just when like Loxodon is zoning you out, when he is off stage against you, it's super easy for him to gimp you. I would probably have it in like on the more difficult side of even. But probably closer to the top. I think it almost feels good, but I think it's kept from it because of how good he is off stage against you. You both just kind of fuck each other off stage, but your combos work a little less well on him than his work on you. I think is what ends up being the difference maker. People say Orcane is quite bad for Lorena. And again, I'm not sure if I like get the hype around it. Yeah, it doesn't feel that bad when I play it, at the very least. Again, it feels. You think it's losing a little bit? I don't even know if it's losing. Like it could. I don't know though, man. Um I really don't mind it. The rework, I'm interested to see how it works because I feel like it's well, one, it's really easy to hit Orcane side B off stage after the rework. It's really easy to just neutral air it if he has to go to the ledge. And it's also really easy to just hit it with like a falling back air. Um and that puts him in a tough spot. On top of like if you hit the pummels, it gets rid of the puddle now, no? And so then that also puts him in a more difficult spot versus a character that's grabbing him anyway. Orcane's also a pretty good combo weight. Down tilt has become more punishable, which means you can grab it, which is pretty high value for the Reina at this point. And he's pretty easy to contest with forward air and stuff like that. I think this matchup's fine. I think it's completely fine. Um, Again, you get fucked off stage, but like that's just kind of how it goes when you play Lorena. Like you kind of just expect it to happen. You know what I mean? Like it's just kind of what it is. I played against Maya in this matchup actually before Lorena got buffed and was like winning consistently. Um, I really don't mind this matchup at all as Lorena. Forsburn is an interesting one. I think it ends up being Lorena winning. Um, if only because Forsburn has to play in a way. It's almost like when we were talking about how Slade needs to play in this way, where people are constantly trying to cheese him, and he has to play this like really consistent neutral. I think Forsburn has to play that way against Lorena, and Lorena is constantly looking to cheese him, and it's not that hard to cheese him. Like, if Forsburn clones, you have so much time to go and hit him. Like, you just have to be confident enough to do so as Lorena. It's easy to throw out the chair and break the smoke. You have consistent ways to like navigate those neutral interactions. If he commits with something like a dash attack, you get pretty high value off of it. He gets comboed really hard. I think Lorena does pretty good against Forsburn. Obviously, his punish game is great against her, and obviously his offstage game is great against her. And so maybe if I played Plup, I would feel differently because I would just be getting down aired off stage all the time. But also, like I feel like Plup would do that to me with anyone. So I don't know if that ends up being the true difference maker. This is the first matchup that goes in feels great. I think Lorena is very strong against Edelus, and again, it's coming from my experience. I haven't played against Adam or Animal, who I think are like the Edelus players right now, and so maybe that would change the way that I felt about it. But I have played against Edelus players who are in Grandmaster and Edelus players who are in Ethereum, and won pretty consistently. Lorena really fucks this character off stage, like really hard. Edelus is in danger of dying at 0%. I don't know whose 1 HP is. Edelus is in danger of dying at 0% against Lorena pretty much all of the time. If you hit him really far off stage with any of like again the cheese stuff, he'll either just die or have a really hard time coming back, and then you just kill him again. Chair is good against him. He has to commit to get rid of it. Maybe that's Spades. Smilebot. I think that might actually be Spades. Who I also played against. I played against Spades and it went well. Yeah, he has to commit pretty hard to come get you. Obviously, again, he can do good stuff to you off stage. However, the buff that makes the chair go through the icicles makes navigating offstage situations way easier against Edelus to the point where he has to commit a couple more times off stage than you do. If you parry the icicles, it just gives you free reign to dash attack him again. Do more of that shit, which is super good. And then if he DIs wrong at like any point, you side B down him and he dies anyway. So I think this matchup ends up being very good for Lorena. It feels good at the very least. And yeah. that's kind of all there is to it. It just feels good. Olympia also might be Lorena's best matchup, which is funny because it also might be Slade's best matchup. Lorena fucks Olympia. Almost in every way. The only thing that Olympia has against Lorena is that Olympia can mash on Lorena's shield, and there's not too much Lorena can do about it. Everything else about this matchup is Lorena favored. Olympia has to recover so carefully. She has to play neutral so carefully. If she gets hit ever, she's in chance of dying. You can kill her at 20%, like, all of the time. You just need to hit her with almost anything, and then, like, Yeah, Olympia is always like one or two reads away from death. If you're playing Lorena, your combo game against her is also like ridiculously strong. Um, I think that's a matchup that is really hard to navigate if you're Olympia against like a strong Lorena. I think you are expected to lose most of the time, which is rough. That's not who you want to be. It's not where you want to be. Absa, I think is a matchup that ends up feeling kind of hard. Uh, Mostly just because Absa is really good at setting up like clouds off stage that just interrupt your recovery really consistently, and setting them up in ways that make it hard to approach, that make it hard to deal with the chair. She can zip around, which doesn't give you a lot of opportunity to react, and because your out of shield is not too good, there's not so much that you can do about it. She often recovers onto the stage, which means she has ways of navigating or stalling out the invincibility at ledge, which ends up being pretty good for her. Yeah, there's not too much there that is like that bad for Absa. Use me brawler and Pac-Man and ult, kind of sick. um And then yeah, Absa plays like a pretty clean neutral against Lorena as well. Lorena typically has to be the one that engages against this character, and unlike Raster, Absa doesn't really have to engage back in the same way. So I think this matchup ends up being pretty hard for Lorena in particular. Galvin is another matchup where I think it ends up feeling pretty good. Obviously, the part of this matchup that can be hard is the offstage shenanigans. Galvin really can blow you up offstage. But I think the way that Galvin has to play neutral is hard against Lorena. It can be a little bit tricky for him to navigate dealing with the chair, especially now that Magnet doesn't turn it off. And you destroy him off stage about as hard as he destroys you, if not harder, which is a hard thing for him to deal with because I feel like your advantage state against him is a little better than his is against you. But maybe that's just me. Maybe that's just me. I think this matchup ends up being Lorena favored though. And then finally Slade. I don't think it's losing by that much. But I do think Slade ends up winning this matchup. I think it's easier for him to navigate around the chair with the boomerang. It puts the onus on Lorena to approach. She can have some pretty big problems with him off stage. And overall, I just think it's a frustrating matchup to play. I think Slade is pretty constantly in his comfort zone against Lorena, and it's hard for her to break in and kind of get him to stop being comfortable, if that makes sense. So I think I would have it there, if anything. You know what? I think I would probably have this here too. But yeah, this is how I feel about Lorena. It is interesting to see the difference between Jesus Christ. Between her and Slade, because I feel like she has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 winning matchups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Slade only has 5, but then I feel like Lorena has a little bit of a worse spread in terms of, I don't know. Maybe I'm just crazy. That being said, these are like, this is a common meta character. This is becoming a meta character. Pretty common. Pretty good matchups into like some common characters. I think Fleet and Rano are the notable exceptions, but a lot of the Lorena mains also have secondaries to deal with those characters. So yeah, I think Lorena ends up feeling pretty good in this meta. She has some like particularly good matchups, which I think is really nice to have a couple where you're like, okay, these are ones that I just should win, on top of like how everything else is going. So yeah, Lorena, I like her. I think she's a cool character. I think she is in an interesting and good spot in the meta, and I think I hope that they don't touch her because I think she's one of the more fun characters in the game. And I think some people are like, "Oh, she's broken. She's too good. She does all this like stupid shit, and I don't really feel like she does. Like she is cheesy, but she's the grappler. She's supposed to be cheesy. And I don't think she does so in such an oppressive way that it needs to be removed. So I hope they keep her as is, and this is probably um the matchup chart that I would have going for her right about now.